Hi, welcome. Glad you could join me today. I'm going to show you how you can get Blender installed and get started on your journey.
Good luck on your journey home, Yvain, wherever that may be.
There are 3 ways you can do this. The first one, go to blender.org and go to download, and then you will get the latest version of Blender that you can download. In a few days, Blender 4.0 will come out. I will go to that one, and to do that, I'm going to use the Blender launcher. I will download it soon here. The third option you can do is, if you have Steam, you can just go there, download Blender from here, and it will just automatically update once Blender has a new version, which is quite useful. This is what I recommend if you don't want to update it manually every time, because every time there's a new Blender version, you have to go to blender.org, download it, and then install it. Steam does everything for you, so just download it from here. But if you want to use multiple versions of Blender, then I'd go for Blender Launcher. So another way to go to the experimental downloads that I want to use, but you don't have to, go to the experimental tab and just download 4.0, the alpha version. On Steam, it's just simple. You download it, you can install it and create a shortcut on your desktop, so you don't always have to open up Steam. Create a new folder with the download, unpack here, and then let's just wait until it's unpacked. Once it's open, you can just open blender.exe, and there you will get this screen. It's called the splash screen. If you already had a Blender version before, you could come down here and load all the settings you had there, but since I don't want that, I'm gonna go for the new ones. I'm gonna set it to English, and shortcuts, we're gonna take the Blender shortcuts, select with the left mouse button, play, spacebar, it's fine, you choose whatever you want. And then you click Save New Settings. Now that we have installed Blender, it's time to go over it. And here you can choose the different file types you want to open. You can start with a general file. You can start with 2D animation, sculpting, VFX, or video editing. I stick with general with over 90% of the time. So just click on general, and there you have your Blender startup file. Don't be intimidated. It's a lot of buttons, a lot of things to click, but there's this famous 80-20 rule. You need to know 20% of software to do 80% of the work. I'm not using Blender's full capacity. So what we have here is the cube, and then you have the camera and you have the light. First of all, you might be like, how do I move everything? If you press the middle mouse button and rotate, you can move around. If you have a laptop and you don't have a mouse, by the way, I highly recommend getting a mouse because it will make things easier for you. Then just go up to Edit, up here, Preferences. This is like your settings for everything you need. Under Input, there's Emulate 3-button mouse, and here you can see the middle mouse for you is Alt left click on your laptop. So if you want to move things around, you press Alt on your keyboard and then left mouse button to move around. It is inconvenient, but if you want to get started before investing into a mouse, you can do that, enable it, move around. And while we are here, I know this will not really make sense for you, go to Addons, and here just type in Node Wrangler. Tick this box here to activate this add-on. You don't need to know all what's written in here.
Trust me and possibly kill me.
But it will make our lives easier on a long run, because there are shortcuts on the button. Like, you will have nodes and you will have to connect them, and you can just pinpoint the point and then drag it around, or you can use these shortcuts to cut connections or get the connections. I know you might be confused, we will get to that soon, but just believe me, it's important. Once you did all that, you're gonna go down here on the 3 lines, the burger thingy, press it, and then Save Preferences. Next time you will open Blender, it will know what you did, the 3 mouse button and the Node Wrangler. Now we close this one, and what do we have here? You can also zoom, you can scroll with your mouse button. Not quite sure how you can do that with the laptop. I guess it's also just like you do on your phone to zoom in or zoom out. And let's just move around. So there you have your light, there you have your camera, there you have your cube. Now you ask, how can I get to the view of the camera? Like, simple, if you have a numpad, this thing on the right, you press the 0 there, then you're in the camera view. This is what your camera sees, and this will be your final output. The ones you see on the internet, like people uploading. It's just a camera, like in real life. If you take a photo, you just see what's in frame. You don't see what's outside the frame. That's the camera. If you press 0 again, you're outside the camera. Let's just go over it. I'm gonna go through everything. Just relax for now. Sit back, watch.
Relax your body in the other universe, please.
And I will give you like a wave, a flood of information, just so you've heard about it. You don't need to remember everything, but let's start with the layout on top. We are here in the layout menu. This is where you will do all of your work, most of it. Modeling tab, actually I never use it. I'm sure there are people who use it, never use it. I'm always using the layout here. Then there is sculpting. For all of you who have a tablet and want to draw on it or can draw on it and would like to sculpt things like a real, back in the days they had a chisel and a hammer and they would just chop off bits and pieces of marble. You can just do it on a computer. You can just go here and then we can go into the sculpt mode. So another thing, there are shortcuts, a lot of shortcuts. I'm going to put a list in the description below in Gumroad. You can download the list of shortcuts. I highly recommend it. Get a mouse and get the shortcut list and use shortcuts. So if you press Control and tab, if you don't know what tab is, this button here, the arrows. So Control, tab, and then you can go to sculpt mode. The manual way would be up here. Up there you can go to object mode, edit mode. Don't worry, like I said, a lot of information right now. Because we're here in sculpt mode, we're going to also go into sculpt mode here. And there you can just play around, drag, and have different brushes. For example, snake hook, let's take this, and you can just move around the object, the cube. Let's just deform it a little bit more. If you're interested in that, you can go over this too. Some people specialize in sculpting, others in just modeling, texturing, environments. Like, there's so much you can do in Blender, and I recommend to focus on one or two things that you really like. Get to know the other parts too, see what you like and focus on them, because trying to do everything in Blender and trying to learn everything what it has to offer, it's not impossible, but I just don't think it's worth your time. So this is sculpting. Then we have UV editing. So what are UVs? You have the cube here and the UVs. UVs are basically coordinates. If you had a little bit of math in your education.
That's like the Nobel Prize for math.
You have the coordinate system. You have usually an x-axis and a y, or you have also the 3 dimension with the z, depending on what you want. But we're going to focus on 2 dimensions, x, y. And UV is the same. You have U and you have V. And this you transfer onto a 3D system. Sounds complicated, but if you've ever wrapped a gift for someone, you have the paper, you have an object, I don't know, it's not a cube, it's not perfect. So what do you do with the object? You take the object, put it on the paper, and then you fold it around it. And if you want to make it look nice, you fold it around tight. That's basically what we're doing here. You can also have a look on a dice. Here we see the dice. So the number 1 is on the first face. Then you fold it so the 2 will be on the other face. Then you fold it again so the 3 is below. So you fold it, you fold the other sides, you fold the rest. So you basically, you are wrapping, like UV unwrap and UV wrap. You wrap your gift box. Here in texture paint, you can paint on your object the way you want. You can click and press all you want, nothing will happen because we are missing the texture. Click on new. We are going to click here on to make it white. We're going to name it test texture, and there you have it. The UV, as I mentioned before, you have the coordinate system here, and you have the squares from the cube also there. If you take a brush and you want to paint on it, let's make this part red. But where is it on our cube? Like, we painted on it, but we don't see it. That's where shortcut comes in handy. If you press Z and then go into the rendered view, just let it load a little bit. We don't see anything either. Why? Because we didn't put the texture on here. So down here on the material tab, you can go to the base and then select the image texture. press on this button here, test texture, and now you applied this 2D image onto the 3D object, and now the program is doing everything for you. We are going to select a blue color. We're just going to paint on it. There it is. This is the blue side. Let's make this side green. You can also work the other way around. Just paint in whatever you like. And there you already have the basic things you can do. You can paint everything. You can change the size of the brush. You can paint everything. And as you can see, the outside parts don't affect the texture. You paint this part red, but you won't see any red on the box. Why? Again, because you have the UV unwrap here. So everything in this line, this is going to be your texture. This is what you will see on your object. See, everything is marked. And if I mark these corners here too, these are all our boxes. So we have green in the middle and we have red all the way around.
You are in pain all the way around.
In the shading tab, this is what you could also use to add the image. We added the test texture just before. You could have done the same thing here, just to show you what is there. We will go over it step by step later on. There's also animation, what you can do. I will tell you how to move things later. But what you can do is animate things here. Let's just move it there. Location, and just press play. So here you can see the camera view. This is what your camera will see. And you just basically moved your cube. If you want to see how it would look rendered, here it's our beautiful green red box. And then the rendering. Once you are satisfied with your work, you can press F12 to render the view or render the image. Let's have a look. There we go. If you want to render it, you can. What is rendering basically? If you press render, Blender will calculate where the light bounces, what comes to the camera, and will produce your finished image. Here you can see always on the right side the shortcuts for any action. Render image is F12 on your keyboard. So we're going to press F12, and there you already have your image. And this is what we will see in the rendering tab right here. So that's basically it. Then we have composition. Composition is once you have your final image. Let's add a view node. So this is the image we just created before. And here you can just manipulate everything you want on the image. Like you want it to have a different color, mix color, add it on top of here, overlay, and we want it to be bluish, or we want it to be more yellowish. You can change stuff here. You can change where is distortion, lens distortion. Let's distort it a lot. You can change it the way you want. So this is composition. Then there's geometry nodes. Sounds complicated, but actually isn't that much. So we just added a geometry node, so-called modifier, on the cube. And here you can do simple animations on the object. Let's put this here. Let's plug this one here. And let's add a, where's the search function? Transform. Transform, and let's rotate it by 2. So what this will do is we put the animation onto our cube, and I just added a rotation here. So with every frame, frames are down here. If you don't know frames per second, there's 24 frames per second, 30 frames, 60 frames per second. It basically means right now I'm at 24 frames per second. So it takes 24 images, and if you play it at 24 frames per second, you get 24 images per 1 second. It's really simple. So every frame, our object will be rotated by 2 degrees. Last but not least, scripting. If you're into coding, then this is for you. For the rest of us, not really. You can add codes here, and anyway, we will get to it. It's Addons, the one we activated, called Wrangler. It's also just a script on Blender that you can activate and implement. So this is it with everything we had above here. Layout, like I said, everything you do is basically in the layout tab, maybe in the shading tab, although you can also do it differently. Down here you have the timeline too. Don't get discouraged. This is just the overview of everything. We will get to doing stuff by ourselves, where you can also actively work. But that is it for now. If you liked it, thumbs up, subscribe, and see you in the next one.